Nice fish. Hi guys, Zeno Hromin back here with another episode of Surf Fishing with Lures. I am co-publisher of Surfcaster's Journal magazine and author of The Art of Surfcasting. This is a continuing series of videos that I have done talking about the stuff that I use primarily. I don't think I ever went into details of the stuff that I personally use, so I figure you might find it useful. Some of you, if you pick up a thing or two and you find that it's applicable to where you fish or helps you catch fish, hey, that would be the whole point of doing this. Even one of you, if it finds this either interesting or useful. Today I'm going to talk to you about the lines that I use. We went over. Originally I started with mono, just like everybody else. Yes, I'm old, and then we switched to something called. Jesus, was it Fusion line? No, a spider wire, something or other. No, Berkeley. Beats me. It was thick. It wasn't bad, but it was nothing like the braided lines out today. So basically, what I fish with today is I like spider wire, stealth braid. Always did. I used to fish Berkeley fire line a lot, and then I had some issues a few years ago and I switched over to Power Pro, and I always had this bad thing with Power Pro. For whatever reason, I gotta say Power Pro is awesome. I have no issues. I know some people have issues with this line, that line, and you gotta get the greatest. Find something that you like and stick with it, please. Don't keep changing. This shit is not cheap, okay? I find Power Pro to be just fine. To me, it's if I could just fish with one thing, for me, Power Pro. And I as my friends know me, I was always against Power Pro. Years ago, there was a bad batch of Power Pro on eBay that somebody copied or whatever, made fake version of it and sold it under the name. It was awful. It was breaking for no reason. You couldn't figure out. You set the hook, the line broke. You made a cast, the line. I said, I'm never going to use it. But having said that, since I switched over to what happened to me was actually I was using a fire line, and I was out in Caswell's on a nor'easter, okay, and I fished the morning. You're casting right into the wind, like 30, 40 miles an hour, northeast wind right in your face. So you're not going to get your cast that far, okay? You're trying to get that bucktail in the proper wave so you can get your line on and work it before it gets buried, because you got to use a heavy bucktails, a big waves, but it's actually shallow water. So those three things kind of got to come together. So your casts have to be accurate and obviously as far as you can. So I believe that I got snagged on the bottom and I lost a lot of line when I was trying to yank it off and the wave pushed me off the rock or hit me, and I fell off the rock, and then my line broke right at the roller. So what happened is I lost a lot of line. So then I went to Paulie's, and he's like, what do you want? And I said, whatever it was, what do you have? And he goes, I only have Power Pro, 30-pound test. And I believe the fire line that I use was 40-pound test, okay? Now, if you know the difference is, Power Pro is more round and thinner, where fire line is more flat and thicker, okay? That's just the way those lines are made. So I went back to the afternoon tide, okay? Now I re-spooled the van stall, and I get on the rock, and I made a cast, and conditions are just about the same. And I was like, holy shit! I must have gained like 30 yards in that conditions. 30 yards is huge. 30 yards is almost double your cast. Because I went to a thinner line that casts better in the wind, less wind resistance, okay? So from then on, I stayed with Power Pro, and I've been staying it, ever since. That's just the line that I use. There's nothing wrong with any of these other lines. I would stay away from cheap lines. Whatever the cheapest one is on the market, I'll discard them. In some ways, it's like, like when you're buying stuff on Amazon, or no, I'm sorry, Amazon, not so much on eBay. Like the cheaper stuff is usually not good, and the higher end stuff is usually something that I can't afford. So somewhere in the middle is usually a good place to start, because when it's cheap, it's cheap for a reason, in my opinion. If they could sell it for more, they would. You know, if they try to tell you that they, you know, making it so that you can save money, I don't think so. Nobody cares about you. Trust me, they care about making money. Okay, so that's basically the way I see that. So why use braid? Well, it casts better, obviously. It casts further. It gives you a better hook set. There's no stretch as it is in mono. When you set the hook, it's immediately. Having said that, there's also a bad part. You're going to pull a lot more hooks with a braid than you will with mono, okay? Especially if you horse a fish. It's harder to break when you get tangled. When you get stuck on the bottom. It is impossible to untangle when you tangle with a guy next to you. I mean, it makes it very difficult because it's so thin. But this is not enough, and also it'll cut your finger up when you cast. But this is not enough to preclude me or you or anyone else from using braid for surf fishing. I think everybody should use braid for surf fishing, unless you have an application. I'm not talking bait fishing, I'm talking lure fishing, okay? I'm fishing, believe it or not, I'm fishing bait with mono, okay? I don't like braid for conventional reels. If I get a bird nest, that God wouldn't fix that. I feel everything. I know this is people's like, well, you want to feel everything. No, I don't want to feel a crab. I don't want to feel a piece of grass. I want to feel a fish, and mono is just fine. I find that I pull a lot of hooks out of the fish because of that quick hook set. I had to let them eat it, and then I end up gut hooking them. I don't like it. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't, okay? I'm just telling you how I do it. So this is about lure, so this whole other conversation, obviously. So I use general sense. I use 30-pound braid for my standard all-around, fishing reels. These Van Stalls, whatever's like 5,000, 6,000 range, stuff that I use with a 10 to 11 foot rods, which is what I fish with most of the time. I'll use a 30-pound braid, and Power Pro for the most part, or spider wire. If I'm going for fluke or these smaller things, I'll go with like 20-pound braid, 15-pound braid. I don't see the point in going like 12-pound braid, which is like 2-pound mono, where I can't see as it is. I wear glasses all the time. As soon as I get home, I put the glasses on because I can't even make dinner without them. So for me to try to tie a knot with a line I can't see, I don't see the point in that. You're not really gaining that much by going that thin. I use hockey tape all the time. This is just something that I'm used to. I think this is called hockey tape. I'm not certain. Obviously, there's products today that obviously, instead of this is a Braided finger protection. We just had these for a Striper Day. We gave them away to the guys that attended the show. What I basically is I have this in my bag at all times. I usually I put this on when I go fishing, and I don't change it. Okay, it stays on. Literally, I put it around my finger like this. I smooth it out a little bit, and that's it. That's where the line lays when I cast. So it doesn't. The braid is so thin. If you have a heavy plug, it will rip your fingers apart. I mean, it will cut it like a knife. So you have to be careful. You also have to be careful not to grab a lot. If your buddy's bringing a fish in, and you go pull it, wait until the leader comes in play where you can grab it. Do not grab braid. Do not wrap around your hand. The braid is so thin, it will cut your hands to the bone. So please don't do that. I'm having this convulsion as I'm just thinking, because I've done it. I've done it, and I learned it the hard way. So that's basically on the casting. You can feel the lure. It cuts. You feel the lure better because there's less of a give, okay? You can also, it will sink faster because of less of a diameter, so there's less water drag. So if you're fishing bucktails in the inlet and you got to get down deep, you don't want to use a heavy, thick line like mono. You want to use a thinner line as possible. So braid helps you there also. Is there any downfall to using braid? I don't really think so. Nothing serious. I mean, you got to be careful around it. It's a little thin. It's hard to break, which is really not a bad thing. I really don't. I really don't see it. There's a certain people say with certain plugs they don't like the way it feels, and I think that's a personal preference. I really don't think you can say that that's bad. In general sense, and now we're talking about, I have a leader wallet that I carry with me. This goes in my bag at all times. I have pre-tied leaders. I don't tie them on the spot. I know the guys some guys carry leaders and they tie it on the spot. I just don't. I don't see the point, but more power to them. That's fine. So this is, I said this is a 30-pound braid. I'll go up to 50 if I'm fishing inlets and stuff on a special reels, only because of currents and trying to horse the fish in, okay? So I will do that, but that's very rarely, very rarely. I'll admit that. Small 20-pound tests, I find it just fine for all the other stuff, for fluking and stuff. The leaders, I'll usually go with 50 or 40 or 50 or 60. This is my favorite is this is a trilene here, which is not my favorite. My favorite is High Seas Quattro, I think it's called. It comes like it's 3 different colors, red, blue, and it changes color. They say that fish can't see it, but then again, you really worry about fish seeing your leader when you're giving them a 9-inch piece of wood with 3 sets of trebles, and you worry about leaders, and you worry about tying directly? Really? The hardware that's clunking in the water and that piece that was broomstick yesterday, that doesn't concern you. You worry about fish being shy of a leader. I mean, come on, seriously. Seriously. There is time and place for everything. So if you are worried about, if you're targeting weak fish in the back bay, you got crystal clear water, and you got certain fish like tuna, let's say for example, that is very, that they can recognize the leader and is very shy at times, yeah, I can see that. You're fishing in a rough surf, like on the ocean beach where you have a sandbar and all that white water and all that turbulence, and you're gonna worry about a leader, the color of it, or the swivel, or no. I think that's exaggeration. I'm sorry, but I don't disagree with that. I know some of my friends do, and listen, I just don't disagree with it, okay? Leaders, all right, so I'm gonna go like this, right? So I can see the cameras a little cockeyed here. Look, this is my opinion, this is my leaders. It's basically whatever I can spread my arms is what my leader is gonna be, somewhere between 24 and 36 inches. I don't like it longer than that. I know a lot of guys that wind the shock leader onto the spool, and that's fine. Again, this is how I fish. There's millions of other ways to fish. So, if that works for you or you find that better, it's fine. Improve clinch knot on one end, improve clinch knot on the other end. On the 2 ends, this is a tactical angler clip, which is a standard that we use. Usually 100, I think it's 125, what size is this? Let me see. Yeah, 125. Right, you see, I have no glasses, so I can't see a damn thing. 125 is what I use mostly. I do use a bigger ones on occasion with rig deals. I kind of like that. I don't have to tie it direct. I don't care what anybody says, okay? It works for me. So 125-pound tactical angler clip, improved clinch knot, 3-foot leader, a sprawl swivel, I don't know what size this is, 150 pounds, whatever that might be, 200 and something pounds, I'm not sure, and then a braid with Palomar knot. That's how my leaders are tied. Why would you have a leader? Well, leader does a few things. First of all, it absorbs the shock during the cast, okay? To some extent, okay? So your lure, obviously, when you snap it, it absorbs some of the shock better than a braid would. The other thing is that when you want to handle, first of all, you catch the fish, right? So the fish is on this end, the lure is here, and obviously, I'm sorry, I got a swivel. I'm wrong on this end. So this is your tactical angler clip, or any clip that you use, and you got fish on this side. Because the braid cuts pretty good abrasion-wise, it will, under duress, it will cut. So the leader material is actually better absorbing the shock from the fish than the braid is, okay? And plus you can get away with thinner braid for casting and a thicker leader. So you can go with 20-pound line and a 50-pound leader and not worried about, because if you have 20-pound braid to the tactical angler clip, you'll really be in danger of this fish chafing your whole line and breaking it. So this is one of the reasons why you can use a heavier leader and you can still use a thin line for casting, but you still have some shock absorption and from the fish's gills and mouth and teeth, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, if the bluefish gets this anywhere near its mouth, or meaning inside of the mouth, you're done. You're done, okay? Most of the time, you might be able to land the fish once in a while, but the bluefish is not very forgiving fish. So that's one thing. The other thing is, and I find this very important, when you handling or landing the fish, okay, you don't want to grab, if you have a rod in one hand, you don't want to grab the braid. You want it to, like you see in this video, maybe take a little time to get to a leader, but you want to grab the leader to control the fish, not the braid, because the braid is so thin it will cut your hand under pressure like that. Even a 10-pound fish will put ridiculous amount of pressure trying to get away. Okay, so that's not going to be just the 10 pounds. It's not just its weight. You know what I'm saying? You are 200 pounds, let's just say, yet you lift 400 pounds of weight when you go to the gym. So that's my point. So don't misconstrue there's a 10-pound fish. You're gonna, you can just grab 10 pounds of weight. It doesn't work like that. Plus it moves. So leaders are great for that, to slide the fish on the sand, to control the fish, to hold it. You can wrap around your hand. You don't need to worry about cutting it. So those are all the reasons for using leaders. That's my favorite leader, the high seas. Trilene is fine. I mean, I have the big game also. For bait fishing, although this is not a video about bait fishing, I use like 80 to 100-pound regular mano. And my leaders are very short, which is a whole other conversation. But that's basically what I use. 20 to 30-pound braid, finger tape, 36-inch leader, more or less, tactical angler clips, pro. That's it. So if you like what we do, please subscribe to our Surfcasters Journal YouTube channel. You can also check our magazine at surfcastersjournal.com. There's a link down here that you can click on and subscribe to the channel. If you go to our magazine, there's a lot of resources there that you can tap in. Usually we have each issue's 50 pages or 70 pages that you can read, and get a sense of what the magazine is all about. We've been doing it for about 10 years. In any event, give it forward, help somebody else. I'll see you on the beach.